you're a terrorist supporter. Number 2, you're an extreme far lefty, so much so that you find it justifiable to ignore every single despicable, disgusting thing that this guy does because, oh, he supports my side. He supports LGBT, guys. The lover of Hezbollah definitely loves LGBT. The guy who unironically said that Iran is pro-trans because they are so anti-gay that they force gay people to transition against their will, that is apparently weirdly pro-trans, apparently, according to Hassan. Oh yeah, or number 3, you have undergone a lobotomy procedure, and that has gone severely wrong. Also, I just gotta address that point. He calls out XUC for looking at like AI photos. Hassan, you thought video game footage from Arma 3 was a real clip.
Rip. Oof, they lit that thing up. Look at the traces.
Much love, XQCL.
This one is literally Arma 3. It's fake. It's Arma. Oh, god damn it! I hate it!
Look at the mods. This is from a game. This is from a game. This is literally Arma 3.
Why? This is what I mean. This is what I fucking mean.
Chat.
This is what I mean.
Guys, isn't it what this was saying? Chat? This was right. This is politics dog shit.
They always, motherfuckers constantly posting fake bullshit. One of the things that you gotta always look for, one of the things that you gotta always look out for.
Hassan immediately trying to salvage the situation. Guys, I was just giving an example of the things you gotta look out for. Guys, watch out or you might get tricked by video game footage like me. I'm an experienced political commentator and I still get tricked by video game footage. This guy has the audacity to call out anybody over politics, bro. You can't make this shit up. It's just cinema. Keep in mind, this guy eats his own toenails and he's bodying us on, bro. You can't make this up. And I'm sure if I looked further, I could probably find a bunch of clips of Hassan just making these sort of mistakes, mistaking AI images for real things or fake misinformation for real things, getting things wrong over and over. Honestly, if you guys find any clips, send them over my way on Instagram. Anyways, moving on to Asmongold. Turns out Asmongold reacted to my video about Twitch. We're gonna go over some quick highlights and then talk about his longer rant in the Ludwig section of the video. Here's my guess. I think he compiled every single time Hassan broke the rules and sent it to the Twitch staff. Like maybe he sent 4 gigabytes of all of Hassan's.
That's not true. There's no way it would only be 4 gigabytes. It had to have been somebody else.
Then Tectone talks about how Twitch actually wants to unban him. This might be post-nut clarity for Dan.
Can I get unbanned? They
that
say,
was funny,
of
though.
course.
A woman with an OnlyFans. And it's a very simple rule. If you qualify, you're not banned. And if you're a man, you're automatically banned. And then we move on to
the big problem, unless no, that's not true, because if you're a cartoon, you get banned. But if you're a real girl, you don't. Because real girls are not as bad as cartoons.
All right, I'm the expert on anything Dan Clancy, so here's the simple explanation. He needs his gooning material very specific, all right? He ain't down with that animated bullshit. He needs the real thing. He needs the Alinity, the Amaranth, the Denims. He needs the cam girls, the OF girls, the ASMR streamers. And God forbid it's the extra special day. He will whip out his Hassan napkin. You know that shit is the dirtiest thing on the planet. Absolutely diabolical. Can we have a moment of silence? Let us pray for the poor washing machine that has to deal with Dan's special Hassan rag. Ay, ay, ay. Then this next part, Asmon talks about the culture of people just like crying and complaining about shit.
Why the f you think they go on Asmongold so much? And every single time I go
Well,
live,
they gave up on doing that, basically. A lot of these people gave up trying to make me look bad because they found out it didn't work. That's the problem, is every single time that somebody went and there was some big cancel campaign or there were a bunch of viral tweets and people got so mad at me, all it did is make me more money. It made me more popular. And the reason why, here's the reason why, is because the people that are going and starting this bullshit are a bunch of hysterical retards on the internet that are delusional. And so when a normal person goes and watches the stream, they say, damn, I thought he was a Nazi. Why is he talking about, you know, why is he talking about like how, you know, like the illegal immigrants aren't our enemies? It's actually the companies that are employing them. Like, that doesn't sound like a Nazi thing. Like, why is he playing, why is he saying like he's friends with this person that's a different skin color? But why, I thought he hated black people. Why is he watching a video of a black person and saying that they're right? What is this? And they see that and they're like, oh, fuck. Damn, maybe that was some bullshit. People are fatigued and tired of having a bunch of weirdo freaks on Twitter that have like 7 different mental illnesses tell them what's normal.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are really tired of this type of bullshit. People crying about dumb, insignificant type of shit when there's real problems out there. I think people are particularly sick of those people who call you racist for having a differing opinion or questioning anything at all. You know, they call you anti-LGBT or whatever for the most lukewarm take. And it's just so annoying when you're coming from a good place and you're genuinely trying to understand the situation, what's going on. And then you get people like Hassan and his goon squad trying to cancel you for the dumbest type of shit, when in the closet, they're literally supporting terrorists. And I think that Hezbollah clip really sums it up. They got a pride flag on the table. They try to act like, oh, I'm so inclusive. Look at me. You guys should all watch me because, you know, I support your community. And then they declare their love for Hezbollah's flag. It's just, you can't make this shit up, man. People are sick of these dumb Twitter mob shit like that. We know all those tweets that get a ton of likes means nothing. Half of them are botted, or it's just mentally ill people brigading because they have nothing better to do. Anyways, let's move on to the Ludwig section. Basically, if you remember, I called out Ludwig for managing to talk about this whole multi-streaming situation, but avoiding mentioning Hassan once again. And I pointed out how he and his entire chat hates Asmongold and just loves Hassan. So the context here is that Ludwig is talking about Asmon moving to Kick and how the optics are really bad. You know, Kick has all these bad people. Somehow Twitch is better and the good place to be, which is obviously no longer the case. They literally have terrorist supporters there. So here's what he said.
On Kick also protects him if I'm going to be a little more bold here, when Asmon gets banned on Twitch again.
Oh, we thinking I'm gonna get in trouble again. The thing is that there's a possibility it might happen, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that I do is really not that bad. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I really very rarely do I say anything crazy.
Maybe a week, maybe whatever. But you know where he'll never get banned? Kick.
Dude, I can't even make out what he's actually trying to say here because
he's trying to imply that the things that I say are problematic and then Twitch is going to ban me for that reason. That's what he's trying to imply. It's obvious you trying to imply that. I don't think that what I'm saying is so crazy. I really don't. Everybody thinks that I'm crazy, but I don't think that I am. I think everybody else is crazy.
Honestly, I don't agree with a lot of Asmon's takes. There's probably a ton of shit I completely disagree with him about. Obviously, I'm not watching every single one of his streams for 10 hours or whatever. I occasionally catch the clip or whatever for what I need for my videos and shit like that. Obviously, I don't have time for that. I'm making my own videos pretty much every day at this point. But I think from what I've seen so far, Asmon usually has the most lukewarm takes ever. Like, this shit is not controversial in any place other than America. America is the only place place where half the shit he says is considered controversial. Like, Asmon will say shit like, breaking the law is bad. And then you'll have, like, Hassan fans go like, nah, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he said that. What a disgusting cockroach. And, like, when a regular person like me, who is completely neutral and watching from another country, has nothing to do with America at all, not invested on any side, I just see, like, someone like Hassan supporting terrorists, pretending rapes didn't happen, laughing at dead babies in coffins, and I see this, like, dehumanizing type of shit, and I'm just like, this is not comparable. How are people comparing Asmon to Hassan? One guy is clearly way more extreme.
Now, Ludwig has kind of boxed himself into a corner with, like, the image that he's created for himself. So you're probably not going to see Ludwig streaming or multi-streaming on Kick or anything like that. But I think that in a different world, where if Kick was a different website, he'd probably be multi-streaming on there too.
Yeah, the different worlds he's talking about is if Hassan somehow owned Kick and then gave a little biscuit to Ludwig, you know, his dog, be like, hey, here's a little treat, good boy. You know, you got some permission to stream there.
Two rage-baiting champions who love sitting down with a soda.
How is Hassan anywhere close to Asmon? Hassan literally supports and platforms terrorists. Like, you can not like his takes or his politics or whatever, but putting them in the same boat is crazy. Also, why was he so offended
I would say, like, I mean, really, in a lot of ways, Hassan and I are kind of the same. Like, I mean, I think a lot of people would draw that conclusion. I don't think that's really a crazy thing to say. And really, it's just like two people that are really opinionated that say crazy shit, right? I mean, like, it's not that bad of a comparison.
Okay, Asmon has gotta stop doing this, bro. He always gives him, like, the maximum courtesy. Bro, he's out there supporting terrorists. It's not even on the same level. Personally, I don't really care about someone's politics. You can do whatever you want as long as you're not, like, actively resulting in hurting other people or spreading insane levels of propaganda to the point where it is legitimately damaging to people. Then he talks about how people will morally posture over things like, you know, moving to Kicker, if, for example.
So whenever you take a round and you look at a person's own actions and you say, well, if you're criticizing a person for doing this, why can't this criticism be leveraged against you for doing Y? And there's not really a reason for it. And so what's happening, I think, now is that there's been a breakdown in the moral posturing of the internet. I think that there was a tremendous amount of, like, moral posturing and, like, pretending, basically. And this was in, like, 2020 to 2023, I would say, especially during COVID, maybe a little bit in 2019. And so it was really, really bad. And people created these entire false personalities and false worlds. Virtue signaling, yeah, there was an entire vulture. I said that is honestly, it's the same thing. It's more accurate. Vulture signaling is better. They created this entire economy and ecosystem around pretending to be people that they're not, and then actively doing things that are not really completely in line with what they believe. And so, or trying to play both sides, or, like, always having the right opinion on everything. But the fact is that I think that now there's, like, a growing, I think, tiredness that people have of having anybody tell them, like, what's good and bad. People just want to watch entertainment. They don't really give a fuck about any of this stuff, right? Like, it's all, like, just noise for most people.
Yeah, I mean, this is well said. Basically, for a long time on the internet, sometimes even now, there's this group of people who will constantly morally posture about things, right? And some of these things are legitimate concerns. Like, whenever, like, people accuse me of doing this, like, when I talk about iDubbbz screwing over a charity, they're like, you don't really care about that. I mean, you're saying that I don't care about a charity and it's bad, and you think I'm faking my feelings that it's bad to take from charity and kids with cancer? Like obviously I do care about it to some extent. Am I gonna lose sleep over it or anything? Not really, but I'm not saying I'm gonna do that. As a general human, I care about things that are scummy, and I can get mad over tiny things like supporting terrorists or stealing from charity. It just feels a bit weird. But yeah, when we talk about morally grandstanding, we're mostly referring to people saying, like, oh, you didn't put a black square on Instagram, you don't care about black people, you're fat phobic for criticizing fat people who are, like, morbidly obese and dying, oh, you're homophobic for calling out a gay person's take they had and not their identity at all. That's the type of moral posturing that's really annoying, where you're sitting on your high horse. And the worst part is the people that do this are usually massive hypocrites. Like even Ludwig or his chat, they'll call Asmongold racist and say all these things like grifter, but then they openly support Hassan, collaborate with him, bend over backwards for him, delete videos for him, defend a guy essentially, in my opinion, scamming a charity event by taking 34%, not making it clear to people. And it's just a bunch of fake sort of fence sitting, because, you know, you pretend to fence it, but actually you're definitely on one side, right? And the only reason you do that is you want everyone to like you, but it ends up turning everybody against you. Then this next part, Ludwig was talking about the connotation with moving the kick.
I could come up with a
The
few
connotation. The I think like the people who you are surrounded with. That's really
that's the connotation and like all this stuff. This is a fake thing that's made up by viewers and other streamers in order to try to control other people. The moment that you just decide to be your own man and make decisions for yourself, rather than let people shaming you and trying to bully you into doing something, control you, is the moment that you are able to be yourself, right? And so like a lot of people are doing this, and the funny thing is that everybody has a line for this, and like, you know, Ludwig is on Twitch. I mean, Twitch is owned by Amazon. Amazon, everybody would agree, is an immoral employer in a lot of ways. You know, they astroturf fake accounts in order to pretend like union support for Amazon is low. I mean, like that's disgusting, right? I mean, who does that? And then you go over to Twitter. Ludwig is active all the time on Twitter.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. When you use these people's arguments against them, it completely falls apart. Like the connotation with going to kick is so bad. There's so many bad streamers there. Okay, Twitch is equally shit. Terrorist supporters like Hassan, the whole goon squad who puts bounties on people, threatens to kill people. It's also owned by Amazon, the most moral company in the entire world, obviously. Also on the BDS list, by the way. So according to them, if you stream on Twitch, which supports Amazon, you don't care about Palestine. So Hassan, by the way, he says he follows this list, right? He says he does boycott stuff based on this logic, but conveniently dodges it when it applies to something he actually cares about. Like if it's a little Coca-Cola drink, he'll be like, okay, I won't drink it. I support Palestine, guys. Because obviously a minor thing like that doesn't affect his career. But if you tell him to leave Twitch, oh no, then suddenly, oh no, I'm specially protected on this platform. Also the thing about Twitter, like they're constantly putting dollars in Elon's pocket. So it's like blatant hypocrisy if you go using their own logic, right? Also, when Ludwig says that people are afraid of going to kick because of their community, he's literally talking about his own community. He's admitting that he might have thought of doing these things, and he probably thinks it's actually okay to stream on Kick too, but he's so audience captured that his own community won't let him do shit without insane backlash, right? Like the second Asmongold's name was mentioned, they spam shit like good riddance, good day, he's gone, disgusting, I hate him, worst person ever, racist. Like, of course, if you have a community like that, they're not gonna let you be free and be your authentic self. So that's why, as a creator, it's important you put your foot down and not be walked on over by these pathetic losers, right? I always listen to feedback, but I'm not a dog like Ludwig, who can be trained by someone like Hassan. You gotta stand up for yourself, you know? You gotta have a little level of self-respect so you're not being walked over like that. Now click this video or you're gonna watch Hassan streams for the rest of your life every single day ever. You're not gonna get past 24 hours, pal. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
or whatever.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
I mean, obviously, I agree.
You agree that it's not worth talking about and you should just get money and go on dates?
There's almost nothing there. People that obsess over it are generally losers. They generally offer no good solutions or advice or things to live in life. Anybody that offers grand conspiracy narratives about how the world is run, it's usually disempowering. It's just annoying to deal with, and I don't know. But obviously, that's my take on it.
Well, I understand your point about the obsession thing. There are a lot of people that obsess over it, and usually the people that do don't have anything really going on, and so they get satisfaction from thinking that everything's out to get them online. A lot of them are nerds in their basement all the time, spam posting on cartoon accounts. But don't you think that I'm wondering what you think. Do you think it's important to talk about, if you're talking about the Matrix and controlling mechanisms, aren't those questions worth investigating? No, not at all.
I think there's a lot of important things to talk about in life. I think that the issues and problems that exist in life are usually, you need a pretty sophisticated explanation of them. Talking about like Jews or the Matrix is just a way to shortcut all of the critical thinking into putting all of the ills onto some external boogeyman. Like, rather than saying, you know, like integrating certain minorities into the country is very difficult, or sometimes we might want to do things and they end up backfiring. Sometimes, you know, policy is really hard to write. Those answers are unsatisfying, even if they might be the answer, and it's way more satisfying to think like Jewish boogeyman uses Holocaust to get all of us to destroy society. Like, that's a really fun, it's cool, it's sexy, it makes you feel like you have access to some special information, but at the end of the day, it doesn't get you any closer to solving any problem whatsoever, in my opinion, obviously.
Yeah, it's not very practical, like making it out of the Matrix and getting your money up and becoming self-sovereign and all that stuff.
Sure.
But I don't want to talk.
The problem, just I guess, like real quick on this, there's like two ways to view like the Matrix. So in one way, there's like the direction that like you, Fresh and Fit, Ryan Dawson, I guess are all in this direction, and then I think Tristan Tate is in another direction. In one world, the Matrix is like there's this system of people that are trying to disenfranchise men, delete masculinity, oppress white people, and they're doing so that they can leverage institutions like the banks and the WEF in order to enrich themselves while stomping on the necks of like all these other groups beneath them that might challenge them. That's like one version of the Matrix. I think that's what like your crowd in general kind of subscribes to. I think that the version of the Matrix that the Tates, or at least Tristan, would talk about is Tristan would say the Matrix are companies telling you to buy a product because it'll make you feel good. It's women telling you to be soft because that's what they want, even though they don't. And it's a thing that is leading to disempower people because instead of telling you the things you need to hear that aren't profitable, it's just products being sold to you by companies and feel-good slogans being given to you by people that don't know what it means to be masculine or be a man, et cetera, et cetera. That's like the quote-unquote the Matrix I think that like Tristan is talking about. So there's a huge.
It seems like you've lightened up to his point of view quite a bit, maybe because I've seen a couple of your interactions on Twitter, and it seems like you're even starting to agree with them a lot more. I'm wondering if you have shifted your perspective on the trafficking thing, or it's also interesting to me that he ended up following you after you for months on end said that he's a human trafficker and needs to go to jail.
No, I mean, there's always going to be things that they say that I probably agree with, right? There's going to be things that he says that I disagree with. I still think they almost for certain are traffickers. But I mean, like I said, the caveat I always give is unless they lied in all of their YouTube videos, that's probably not true. But I mean, I told him as much personally in DMs too, where I said I mean, obviously I think you guys are traffickers, but I mean, they should go to court, have their day in court, do their shit. But.
And he wasn't upset with you. He probably had a cordial conversation.
I mean, he was a little upset. I guess he didn't know that, but I mean, I told him. He said, "Oh, we'll see what happens." I said, "Good luck in court." We'll see what happens.
Okay. Respect you sticking to that point of view even after that. What's your whole take on? Well, how should I approach the Jesse Lee Peterson interview? That's like one of your most popular interviews of all time, and I think he's a really interesting guy. I actually agree with him quite a bit. I posted this clip the other day from the No Jumper podcast where I was talking about how black culture promotes a lot of negative behavior, and a lot of times black people will drag black people down way more than they ever blame white supremacy for. For example, when you start to make it up in the world, or you start to speak properly, or you start to dress more respectably, black people will like use words like you're speaking white, or they'll bring you back down and say that you're and all this stuff. Say that you're simping for white people when you try to make it out of the, and you kind of see that response in the quote tweets. Everybody is saying like, oh, you can't speak on black culture if you're not black, blah, blah, blah. Why is he talking about this? He doesn't know about jazz. It's like, okay, first off, no black person, like who goes to jazz concerts anymore? Who listens to jazz? Who are all the top black artists? They're all, promoting murder, Sexy Red is like saying my coochie pink, my booty hole brown, Cardi. All the major black artists are promoting degeneracy, which is something that we all know. But when you talk about it, they immediately try to silence you, saying you're racist. So I kind of saw a good response there, and I think it's something worth talking about, and maybe even something you agree about. I was listening to your streamer before, you saying that you could tell somebody is racist right away, but people will call me racist for that. And I saw a lot of people upset with me and calling me racist, but I'm just pointing out something that if I was blacker, they would probably nod their head and agree with. When Ye talks about it, they say it makes sense, but when I talk about it in a room with Adam 22, they immediately say like, oh look, he follows Richard Spencer, he hangs out with Nick Fuentes, he's a white supremacist sympathizer, all this stuff.
Okay. When I say this, I'm not here to pass judgment one way or another, but when people have these conversations, there's just some things I would like them to be aware of, okay? For a long time, I would agree that to some extent rap is degenerate, right? Especially when we talk about early gangster rap, especially when we talk about Sad Boy, Xanax rap, all these rappers that die of drug ODs and all this shit. Like, there is an element to, you can even say there's an element to black culture that's degenerate, okay? That's probably true. Right?
There you go. Right.
Sure.
We agree on that.
Sure. Wait. Okay, yeah, but here's the issue, and this is what I wish when people have these conversations, these are things they need to keep in mind, okay? One, the entertainment that you create is a reflection of the culture that you're in, right? It wouldn't make, like, there is no Ashkenazi Jew that makes a song called, like, police. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you feel that way about the police? If you're just, right, well, unless you're talking about the Gestapo, right? So, so that's one thing. Keep in mind that the art and the media that you create, it's going to be a reflection of the environment that you're in. Now, if we look at the history of African Americans in the United States, the environment that they've been in for a long time has been, on one level, legally and institutionally, right? Or at the very legally, they were slaves. Okay. Past that, it was institutionally Jim Crow. Redlining.
I understand that,
right?
but then why is it that whenever a rapper starts to get out of that, even years after
hold on, real quick. I'll let you answer or ask her. I just want to explain this real quick, okay? Right? That for all these times, black people's culture in the United States, because of things that have been outside of their control, they've been relegated to really shit environments. And as a result of that, the media they've made has been some kind of reflection of that. Then there's also this kind of uncomfortable thing where we were very critical of black media is garbage, black media is horrible, it's bringing down the black community. But then there's this uncomfortable trend of like, black people will create something that's disgusting. The blues and jazz, these bastardizations of European music, and then eventually white people are like, it was gross, we shouldn't for it, but actually it's kind of cool. We're gonna take it, right? Blues, jazz, came a lot of it from black players' infusion of their culture into European style music. They made something new and creative. We thought it was horrible, and then Elvis Presley comes out and does rock and roll. It's awesome. You go to jazz institutions today, it's all white people playing. It's awesome, right? And then something similar is kind of happening with rap. Rap is gross, rap is disgusting, but if you go to any rap concert, 90% of the audience are white people. So while we're simultaneously criticizing the culture and saying it's disgusting, we're the main consumers of it. When I say we, I mean we as white people. So I'm just saying that collectively, when you take all of that account, I can see black people looking and be like, okay, you're saying that our media is crap and we're ourselves. That might be true to some extent, but it doesn't keep you from consuming it. You love buying it. You're our main consumers, and eventually you come by and you steal it, and you don't have any of the same criticism because it's not the same expectation for you as a white person to uplift your culture, whereas every single rap artist that becomes famous is expected to be some representative, some Malcolm X, some MLK that's supposed to uplift all those people, when they might just want to make media that reflects their environment, and they just want to make money like any white person would. But there's a whole
right. I'm not arguing that. Of course, we all know that white kids love to consume the stuff.
Sure, yeah. Just
the aesthetic is the aesthetic is sexy. There's murder, all the stuff that's working, all that stuff. Like, obviously that's attractive. That's why they keep making it. But the bigger argument is why, even when they're out of that lifestyle, like, yes, okay, systematic oppression, they're from the hood, all this stuff, redlining, blah, 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 we're victims. That's always the main black mentality in America, is that we're always victimized and white supremacy is holding us back. But how come when they start to elevate, when they start to get out of that, even years after they've been out of the gang lifestyle, that's all they know how to continue rapping about. That's all they know how to, even when they have nothing to do with it for years and years and years, the whole aesthetic, all of it is, they even will stay in the gang mentality. They'll be around that just so that they could keep that aesthetic going.
Because
they'll
people,
purposely,
yeah, because
they'll
people,
purposely surround themselves with that aesthetic and ideology and that lifestyle to sell more music. They won't live that whatsoever. They'll be at nice dinners. They'll be traveling the world. They'll be in private jets, and they're still talking about gangbang and GDK, GDBD, all this stuff.
because your upbringing and how you get success is largely going to shape a lot of your life. You make money doing it, people want to hear it, and it's something that you carry with you forever, right? This is part of the criticism. I don't want to get like too much into other stuff because I don't want to disagree too much, but like a lot of the things that red pillars say about how they move through relationships actually makes a lot of sense if you look at it through a poor lifestyle. When you talk about, like, for instance, a lot of red pillars, when you guys talk about how you manage relationships, when you say the man leads, one of the reasons why that you guys always give about men leading is if you get into a fight, if somebody breaks into your house, this is poor ghetto mentality, right? No middle class person is thinking like, I need to lead my woman for when I have to fight for her life, because middle class and wealthy people don't think that way. But even these red pillars that make like millions of dollars, when was the last time Myron got like jumped with a dude in a gun trying to kill him and his girlfriend, right?
Actually, that's not true. Recently, they were at the restaurant after a show, and he had to protect everybody because he's always carrying a gun. And he said, like, everybody get behind me, because there was a fight that went on in the middle of the restaurant. So even even when you start making money, there's always a risk. There's always a possibility.
No. Come on.
Well, yes,
it might happen every now and then. First of all, was this a random dude or was this like a fan or whatever, right? Like, and actually,
it was a random altercation at the restaurant. But when it does get down to that, it's always the man that has to protect. He's the one carrying the gun. He's the one who's the most.
What you're saying,
capable.
I understand what you're saying right now. This is broken mentality. This is ghetto mentality. Nobody in like the wealthy world thinks this way. You call the cops or you just leave. Nobody's thinking about like how do I need to move in case of a fight. Like nobody's building their life around these interactions.
Well, no, you're equating it to that he needs to get in a fight. He's the one carrying the gun. He's the one who's going to be most capable with a weapon in that scenario. He's going to be better at it than a woman in all scenarios.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying this is like 0.1% of what you're thinking about. But when you listen to red pillars, it's like 85% of like how the world is built is around surviving fights. Like, it's just most people just don't think about that, right? You spent some time in Miami Beach. You've been in LA. Like, even in LA, like most places, this shit is not happening. I lived in LA for 3-4 years. I've been to a ton of different restaurants. I've been in fucking weird places in Hollywood, homeless people. Like, I've been down in Miami Beach now. I go all over Brickell, Miami Beach. Like, it's just not something I think about. It's not
ultimately, but the bigger point of it, it's not just about the fact that it's happening all the time, but it's just having that mentality will lead a better relationship. That's
sure. I'm just saying that. Sure. All I'm trying to illustrate here is that like that is something that comes from a certain type of background, and it's carried through. Like Myron, and maybe I guess even you, I don't even know, are going to carry this mentality with you for 10, 20, 30 years. But what I'm telling you is that other wealthy people are going to look at you like you're crazy. That'll never change. When you start saying things like, oh yeah, like if you're at a table talking to some wealthy folks that come from wealthy families, and you're like, I need to lead in the relationship. They're like, oh, well, why is that, Sneeko? And it's like, what if somebody breaks in here and a fight breaks out? Like everybody's going to look at you like you're crazy.
That's not the reason that I'm going to give in that scenario. It's because my woman is going to feel more safe and secure, and she's going to be able to be in her feminine more if I'm the one protecting and leading and I'm the masculine one. And there's a lot, that's like just the most physical and the best example of it, like when a fight breaks out, but that's obviously not going to happen that much. The relationship's better when the masculine man is leading and the woman can be feminine. A woman can't properly be feminine if she's not in a safe environment and she doesn't feel secure. That's ultimately the reason for it.
Okay. That was just one example, but what else do you want to talk about?
The last one was, what do you think about this whole Adam 22 thing? What I've been messaging him back and forth for a lot of time, and people are making memes about. I saw a collage of like the four of us, like the Cut Coalition. I think it's funny. And Adam, I like the fact that he seems really happy with his daughter. He was traveling around Europe. He just got married. He was on his honeymoon. I see him like pushing his daughter in the swing. And then I go on his podcast and he's like, yeah, I just let my wife do a BBC porn. And I'm wondering because in my opinion, I like the guy, I really do. But he has all these Satanist stuff in his office. He has like the Antichrist tatted on his face. He says he's an atheist, but atheists always tend to embrace Satanism to some extent. I don't know about you. That's a bigger thing that we could talk about. But he seems to be coping now on Twitter. He seems to kind of be justifying it. And he's like saying that, I like this and it turned me on and all this stuff. But he's also like feeding into the trolls, and it clearly bothered by it to some extent. I'm wondering what you think about it.
I don't think he's bothered by it. I think he's bothered by how much other people are bothered by it.
Which is still bothered by it.
Well, no. It's bothered by other people being bothered by it, right? Like, when somebody calls me racist, that upsets me. It doesn't upset me because I'm racist. It's upset because they think I'm racist, right? There's a difference there, right?
Okay, so you don't think that he cares at all?
I mean, they had a large conversation about it. If he didn't want her to do it, he could have just told her not to do it. No.
I don't even. It's the whole thing doesn't make sense. It's like if you're gonna do it for money, just so that you could sell some OnlyFans stuff. The guy's a multi-millionaire. You don't need to do this for money. It seems weird that he did that like a couple weeks after his marriage.
If you say multi-millionaire, I could be wrong. I doubt he's worth more than $10 million. Unless
Whatever, but there's no reason, like the thing like, oh, I'm just doing it for money is also cope, because you don't need to do that for money. That's the last thing.
Well, but it could be a fuck ton of money. This might be like, this is probably going to be the best OnlyFans.
Okay, but what is he gonna buy? Like, if he say he has an $8 million net worth, what could he doesn't? That's not gonna give him a lifestyle upgrade whatsoever by having his wife do BBC porn. What was your read on it?
If it 2 or 3x's her income, it could. I mean, it could change.
Okay, but
right? Yeah,
what was your read about speaking to him about that? What I saw is like he seemed like it was making him uncomfortable, and I see it like in a couple months he's going to start regretting this and continue to try to justify it or go deeper down the porn rabbit hole. And also another moment that I had on the podcast was like, what are you going to do about your daughter seeing all this stuff? Because I like the fact that he's become a father and he seems like he's maturing. And he even said that having a daughter was way more fulfilling than the hundreds and hundreds of women that he slept with. And I'm like, that's good. He seems like he's on the right path. And then he does this. And then I asked him, like, how are you going to explain this to your daughter?
They already
and
did. He's already got a ton of tattoos. They already literally shoot porn. They do a podcast with women that they fuck afterwards, right? Is this going to be the thing that...
This is different. This is okay, but it's so even if it's not just about the difference that it has on the child, the perception is the biggest part about it.
The perception in these like really weird like red pill communities where you guys think it's okay for you to like step out on your woman, but it's not okay for the woman to step out on the guy. I think for most people
it's not red pill. It's just everybody.
No.
Everybody.
That's red pill. That's only red pill.
It's not red pill.
Go and talk to any country movement. Men don't cheat on their wives, and it's okay. That's not true.
It's not about the in between the relationship. It's also public perception, because what I'm saying is that the kid is going to get bullied for this and it's going to come up, and what matters more than just like how the mother and father deal with it is public perception. So once the daughter sees that and sees like, okay, mommy got BBC'd, that's going to be different on the child's mentality than, okay, like they did some threesome porn. Both are bad, but one is completely different, because that's the type of that's the #1 biggest humiliation ritual for a white guy.
Maybe if you're racist.
That's just true. I mean, it's the #1 porn subject for white guys. It's always like black on white.
The obsession.
That is
with
the number.
like,
it's not an obsession. Look,
it is an obsession. The idea that like if my girl like.
Well, it's a white guy obsession, but I am talking about public perception.
It's a black guy in red pill space. It's a black person obsession too. I think that if you were to poll the average red pillar and you were to give them a woman, you say, would you rather she like 5 black guys or 1 dog? I think they'd rather like or like 5 dogs or 1 black guy. I think the guy would rather take the doggy woman like every time. Like the obsession with BBC and black guys white chicks or any chick is really weird, and that's true of like everybody in these red pill space, even black guys.
Sure, but you don't think that this is going to be a problem, because this is something that's completely new where we're trying to normalize this. OnlyFans is one thing, which is also bad, and like Instagram pictures is another level, but something like this, what lasting effect do you think that this has on a child's mentality?
I don't think that. If you want to talk about what is the effect that doing like public like podcasts or porn has on a child's mentality, that's one thing to talk about. But like to separate out like the BBC from everything else they do, I just think is really weird. But in terms of like the child's mentality, I don't know. It's probably gonna be rough. Any child with like a famous parent or a parent that does porn or whatever, there's probably gonna be extra challenges there that you've got to deal with as a parent, I would imagine.
What did you notice when you were sitting on the podcast talking about it? I'm seeing it still gets brought up so much with you. It's starting to die down more with me, but it's always going to be there forever. What was your read of talking to him about that?
It seems like he tried a thing for having his wife do some things. He's having like some feelings about it. Almost everybody does, women included, after threesomes. Like, they start to feel differently about it once they've actually seen it. Who knows where he'll actually settle on whether or not he thinks it's okay to do in the long term or not, but that's probably something he's thinking about a lot, I guess, I would imagine.
Okay.
But everybody has like feelings about like one of the most common like relationship enders for sexual things is like a woman is like, oh, I want to do a threesome, and then they feel good about it and they want to do it, and then they do a threesome with a boyfriend and they watch the boyfriend fuck another girl and like,
and she gets traumatized, right?
Yeah, she's like, I don't think I like this at all. Yeah, but so I mean, it's common, it happens. Yeah. So
I see you're downplaying the public perception of it, because that is important, whether or not it bothers you personally more. The public perception does matter quite a bit, right? Like a woman doesn't get humiliated the same way when she goes in a threesome and feels bad about it the same way a man does, because that removes your masculinity. For a woman, it might make her insecure, but that doesn't remove her femininity.
I mean, it's just going to depend on how secure they are in themselves. If you're secure in yourself, then public perception is who cares. Public doesn't live your relationships, you do. I would never, I don't know how Adam feels about his, but I would never let the public dictate to me my sexual activities or my relationship history. Because one, most of these people are virgins. And second,